That's my boy. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Today we're going to be making pork dumplings. These are really easy to make, though they do take a little bit of time and effort. But let's get started. We'll go over a list of ingredients. We have 3 tablespoons sesame oil. We have 4 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, 3/4 cup minced ginger, 1/2 cup minced garlic, 1 bunch of green onions sliced, 2 medium carrots minced, 1/2 head of medium-sized cabbage chopped. We have 3 whole eggs, 2 tablespoons of red chili flake is what we're going to be using, 1 tablespoon of white ground pepper, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, salt and pepper to taste, which was about 4 tablespoons, plus some salt for our dough wrappers. We have 3 pounds of ground pork. We have 4 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 cup of water. And it's not listed there, but in with our cabbage, we do have 1 bunch of cilantro chopped. So we'll go ahead and get our flour into our mixer. And before we add our water, we're just going to go ahead and add a little salt in there. It's about a tablespoon's worth of salt to our flour. And we'll get this thing going. And once it's moving, we'll just start incorporating our water. If you don't have a mixer, little KitchenAid mixer like this, you can always just throw it out on your counter and do it all by hand. Since I have one, I'm going to take some of the work away from me and put it on this machine. So you can see it's almost all mixed up, kind of clumpy there. I'm going to pull it out real quick and just toss it down and try to really get it to start sticking to itself. That way that dough hook can kind of start working it like it's kneading it instead of just pushing it through. It's just a little way to kind of get it all to stick together is just push it together by hand real quick. One thing, make sure when you put it back in that you secure your bowl, because I didn't, and it definitely shows if you don't. Just like that. All right. But you can see it's all together, getting it nice and kneaded. And after a couple minutes of that, we're just going to pull it out, get it to stick together. You final knead by hand, get it all nice. And we're just going to wrap it in cellophane and set it off to the side. And let that kind of just rest while we do everything else. So we're going to start adding all of our ingredients to our ground pork over here. We'll start off by tossing our sesame oil. Then we're going to go ahead and crack our eggs. The eggs for this is kind of like our binder. It's what's going to help your mixture kind of stick together as it cooks. It's going to be like the glue that holds everything together. So we get our eggs in there. We have our minced garlic. We're going to toss half of this ginger, but later we add the rest of it. We end up using all the ginger, so 3/4 cups. Add our green onions, our carrots, our cabbage, and our cilantro, which my wife would like to remind everyone, if you don't like cilantro like she doesn't, don't add cilantro. It's kind of a non-starter for her when I add cilantro to too much stuff, but it's okay. I like it. So there's the salt in there, and then we're going to add some of our white pepper. Did about, I think it was 3/4 teaspoon, but then we add a little bit more later also. Once we get everything mixed up, we'll do a little taste on it. I'll show you how we do that first. Get our soy sauce in there, our red chili flakes. And one thing to remember is that, these recipes aren't perfect. I just kind of making stuff up as I go, as far as portion-wise. But so you can adjust it, add more, add less, take something out, switch something in. Some people like to add some minced up shiitake mushrooms or something like that in there, and that's really good. So once you get everything mixed up, we're going to do a little taster, and I just make a little patty of our sausage, and we're just going to cook it up over there. And we're just going to do that so that we can taste our filling before we actually make these, and then we can adjust. It's definitely gonna save you some headache later if you make them without tasting it and then you find it's kind of bland. So while that's cooking, we're making up just a little sauce, little dipping sauce for us. So it's got some garlic, some ginger, some green onions. We have some sesame oil, a little bit of soy sauce, rice wine vinegar, which I ran out of rice wine vinegar, but luckily I seem to keep this stuff on deck by the gallon. And honestly, if you go to a restaurant supply store, it's cheaper to buy a big jug of different vinegars than it is to buy a little bottle at your grocery store. So if you have restaurant supply stores around, definitely recommend just picking up larger amounts. It's going to last on the shelf for a really long time. But got our rice wine vinegar in there, and then we're going to add a splash of honey coming up, and we'll just mix all that together while that patty's cooking. Looks like it's just about done. Put our honey in there, just a little sweet touch. And some people want to do other stuff. Maybe you want to add, red chili flakes to it or make it spicy. When you're making like a dipping sauce, you make whatever you want, that's kind of Asian flavor inspired. A little quick taste, tastes good. So there's our patty, just seared up and cooked all the way through. And we just did a little taste on it, and then we'll do a taste with our dipping sauce because that is going to be part of our final product. Our sauce while we're eating these dumplings. But if you like how it is, cool. If not, I think for us, we added the rest of that ginger into there. And then I also did a little more salt. And I think just a smidge more of that white pepper. But this was a lot of pork. I think when it was all said and done, I made basically a gallon-sized Ziploc bag full of these dumplings that I just tossed in the freezer. I actually froze them individually, just placed them in the freezer, froze them, and then put them in a Ziploc bag after. But I made about 20 of these things, and then I still had probably 1.5 pounds of pork left that I just froze separately. So when I want to, I can just make more. So you don't have to make this size of filling. You definitely go way less and still make a lot of dumplings. So the difference really between a dumpling or a pot sticker and like gyoza and stuff is like the wrapper on the gyoza is a lot thinner. I like the dumplings. I'm a huge fan of the dough, so that's why I kind of stick with those and doing a thicker wrapper. But you put a little tablespoon of the filling inside your rolled out dough there. We just slowly fold the sides over, keep one side flat, and just fold them back and forth, and we seal it with just a little bit of water around one of the edges and a little shape to it, and that's it. They take a little effort to make, and mine aren't the prettiest because I don't make these all the time. I'm not perfect, but it tastes really good, and I enjoy it either way. So again, your dough, we rolled that out into a tube there, and then we just break off little rounds, and we just roll those out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Put a little filling on the inside, put some water on one side, and just fold the edges over, and that's it. You just repeat until you work all the way through. Like I said, we ended up making probably 25 of these things, with what we made. If you want perfect circle, you can get a cutter as well. And you have a nice perfect circle on there. Fold it over. Just keep wrapping those corners, folding them over. But that's it. Get a little, I like to use a non-stick pan when I'm doing these. You can use a stick pan. Some people just use just a steamer and they want them just steamed. I like using a non-stick pan because I'm going to throw a little oil in there after all this water evaporates, and get a little sear on the dough. But just put a lid on it, and we're just going to let these guys steam themselves up, and that's going to cook the pork all the way through. It's probably going to take about 5 minutes or so to fully cook, maybe a little less. And then after the water's gone, we just, peel them up from the pan a little bit, and we add a little oil. You can use sesame oil if you want, or you can use just some regular oil. And we're just gonna put a little bit in there and sear up the sides and get a little crispiness to them. Like I said, some people want them just steamed. They really like just that chewy dough, which I'm a fan of too. But it's whatever you want to do. So we'll let these guys get a little oil underneath the bottoms there. Put our lid back on. So these are definitely, time-consuming thing to make, but I think they're worth it. They're fun, and you can make different shapes of dumplings. They don't have to be this style. There's 20 different ways to fold these things up, so you guys can look up other ways. But you get a nice little golden color there. We'll flip these guys around. They don't need to be seared the whole way. Sometimes people toss these in like a little deep fryer if you want to get the whole thing done. Kind of like a little mix. Yeah, so that's basically it. That's it. That's making pork dumplings. So once these guys are done, we'll pull them out, cut one open, show you the inside, and then you guys can give it a go yourself. So you can see the dumpling, the wrapper there, the dough wrapper becomes kind of gelatinous looking, but it's really not. That just nice firm texture for the dough. And there's your inside with everything all cooked up. So definitely make sure that you've cooked the whole thing before you just mow into it. I usually find the fatter one, cut it in half, but that's it, guys. Not too difficult. Definitely worth a go, and it's something that I make a bunch of extra ones and I just toss them in the freezer, and then now I have a bunch on deck ready to go whenever I want. Well, thanks for watching. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you appreciate the video, and thanks for viewing. Appreciate all you guys. Have a good one.